Hello, and thank you for your time in these challenging times for the whole world. I'm actually a huge fan of space industry, and I have investigated corruption by the building of the Cosmodrome Vostochny. And the first question is, to the surprise of the many, you have recently started tweeting in fluent Russian. One can tell that you take the situation in Ukraine very personally. Is it true? Could you explain to us why, and where have you learned Russian?
So, I've spent a lot of time in Russia, a couple of years altogether. I've flown in space 4 times, 3 of them with Russian cosmonauts. I have many friends that are Russian in Russia. I have Ukrainian friends. I actually have Ukrainian family members. My wife, Amiko's sister, is married to a Ukrainian American that came here when he was 10 years old. So this is, it's a very personal thing to me. I feel certainly horrible for the Ukrainian people and what they're suffering through. That I think is, basically war crimes, perpetrated by one person. But I also feel for the Russian people that are innocent in this. Maybe some of them aren't innocent. Maybe they support Putin. But I also know some don't. And I feel for them and how this act by one man is going to affect their lives, because it's going to significantly affect the Russian economy for years, if not decades to come. Their quality of life is going to change. And, because I have, a lot of time in space and I have an audience in Russia, I wrote a book that was translated into Russian. I know that I have a lot of Russian Twitter followers. I looked at this as an opportunity to get messaging through to them that is real and counter to the narrative that is that they are being exposed to with the closing of the media, foreign media outlets in Russia. Regarding my Russian language, я понимаю лучше, чем я говорю. I write in Russian, but clearly, I don't write as well as in Russian like Pushkin does, and I think it's probably clear to most people that I'm getting a little help in that area. But I want to do this that gets people's attention, and if you talk to people in a language that they understand, you're going to get their attention more than if you didn't.
As for my knowledge, you went to space with Russian cosmonaut twice. In particular, you spent almost a year on the space station with Mikhail Kirilenko. Are you still in touch with him? Did you discuss the situation in Ukraine with him? If that's the case, what did he tell you? Did you think that Russian cosmonauts share the same views on the Russian military aggression towards Ukraine with the Russian state space corporation Roskosmos and Dmitry Rogozin?
Well, I keep in touch with cosmonauts, including Misha. And I would say I don't want to go into personally what their, different cosmonauts' individual positions are on this, because I know it's sensitive. But I would say that, some of them are on the side that this is absolutely wrong. Horrific what is happening in Ukraine, and others are not. And the ones that are in agreement with the Russian government on this, I don't feel that it's because they're bad people or they're not smart. I just think they've been brainwashed by being exposed to decades of misinformation. So I would say that in my experience with the cosmonauts, at least I talked to, the opinion varies.
How strong was the space cooperation between the US and Russia in the past decades? To what extent do you think Russia depends on the US in terms of space cooperation?
Well, I think the cooperation has been great. throughout the history of the space station program, which is well over 20 years old that we've had people on the space station, well over 20 years now. And I think it's important to continue it. I know a lot of people in the Russian Space Agency. They are great people. They're committed to this program. NASA is committed to it. I think it's absolutely worth saving this partnership. It's one thing that could, it's one thing that, connects Russia to the U.S. and the international community now that, we're losing those connections. And this is a place where we can work together peacefully for something that is in our common good. I do, however, think that the Russian Space Agency needs that international cooperation, clearly. I mean, their budget from the Russian government is probably not enough to keep them functioning like they currently are. And I have a lot of friends that work there, and I don't want them to suffer. I don't want them to lose their jobs. So I think it's important for the Russian Space Agency to want to continue international cooperation and investment in their space program as well.
Do you know Dmitry Rogozin personally? How would you describe him? Is he an expert in the field of space industry? Everyone in Russia was surprised by his nomination a while ago. He has a degree in journalism and used to work as communication specialist. Rogozin threatened that due to the imposed sanctions, International Space Station could lose orbit and fall down on the US and Europe. Could it be possible? How would you describe such statements and his behavior?
Well, I don't know him personally. It's possible I have met him before, but I left NASA before he took over as the head of Roskosmos. So I don't have any recollection of ever meeting him. What I would say is that I think his focus needs to be on maintaining this partnership in space, the space station program with the United States, and not focusing on Twitter. And I'd just probably like to leave it at that, because that's the most important thing, not, picking fights with people and making videos showing something that is, unlikely to happen. So I just wish he would focus more on the important stuff of running a space agency like Roscosmos.
Speaking from your experience, how would you describe current climate on the International Space Station? How do Russians and Americans communicate?
I would say it's probably fine. I don't have any direct information or knowledge. I flew in space with Anton Skaplerov, who's on the space station now. He's, in my experience, he was a great guy, great crew member. When you're on the space station, what's important is you as crewmates working together cooperatively, your friendship, your support of one another, your psychological support, even relying on each other for literally your lives. And the stuff that goes down on Earth is going on Earth is very important. But I think you recognize when you're above the planet in such a hostile environment that your reliance on one another kind of transcends stuff that's going on Earth. So I suspect that they are working still very well together. I have no reason to believe they're not.
Is that true that speaking Russian is necessary for ISS mission?
Well, the official language of the space station is English. And generally, in my experience, cosmonauts speak English better than astronauts speak Russian. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. One is a lot of them take English when they're kids in high school, as an example. The other reason is I've been told that it's an easier transition to go from Russian to English than English to Russian. I don't know if that's true, but I've been told that linguists, figure this stuff out. The other reason is that Russians are exposed to English culturally, where Americans are not. In other words, you have American movies, there's American advertising, American brands. That doesn't really exist in the U.S., at least not in a way that's obvious to people that you kind of see just naturally when you're going through your daily life. And the final reason is that English is a very useful language internationally. When people want to go on vacation, if they want to travel to Thailand, it's much easier to do if you also speak English as opposed to just being a Russian speaker, where that advantage does not exist going in the other direction. Certainly if you travel to Russia or Belarus or, some other Slavic nations that have Russian speakers in it, it is helpful, but by and large, it doesn't. And then English generally works there as well if you need to. So, for that reason, I found that, the Russians are generally better English speakers than we are. Having said that, mostly we speak English on the space station, although, some Russian. Sometimes you mix both languages together. NASA, at some point, someone coined this term Runglish, a combination of Russian and English. I remember one example is to say something like, in English, there's this term, whatever. We would say, shtoever. But on the Soyuz, on the Russian Soyuz, it's all in Russian, but it's more of a technical Russian that you kind of practice over and over, and doesn't necessarily give you the ability to have a conversation in Russian, but you can certainly function in that very technical environment.
The USSR used to be a space superpower. Could one say that Russia is a worthy successor? How far has Russia progressed in terms of space exploration? How does Russia actually have any recent achievements?
Well, they're a major partner in building probably one of the most complex, sophisticated, and challenging things that humans have ever done, which is the International Space Station. That alone is a significant achievement, and doing it, in a partnership with Western nations, other countries on this international program is something I think all Russian people can be very proud of.
Russians have very negative opinions about Roscosmos. We even have a meme where Russians are apologizing to Gagarin for the screwing up his legacy. Do you think such an attitude towards Roscosmos is reasonable?
Well, I've never seen those memes, and there are a lot of great people that work for Roscosmos, and many of them are my friends. Many of the people in leadership I respect greatly that are in Roscosmos leadership. So, I would, having not seen the comments and the memes, it's kind of hard to comment directly, but I would say that those people deserve a lot of respect because they have a really hard job and they're very, very dedicated and very professional.
Besides Rogozin, you pay a lot of attention to the Russian propagandist Solovyov, or how you put it, Vovочка. Why? And how did he deserve such an honor? Many people in Russia call him a successor of Joseph Goebbels. Would you agree?
Well, I generally don't like to use Nazi comparisons, and because it just brings up a whole lot of bad feelings for people that suffered horribly under the Nazi regime during World War II. But the reason I call him out is because he is seems like one of the main propagandists, and I want to get a certain message out, and I think it's not only providing information, but it's also getting people's attention. And one way you get attention is you make things a little bit personal. So, because the Soloviev is a guy that is, a propagandist, I looked at it as an opportunity to use him to, elevate my messaging, I would say.
Politician Alexei Navalny once compared the prison sentence to a space mission. Is there something in common between them?
Well, I've never served a prison sentence. Not yet, anyway. So I wouldn't know. But I would say being isolated for a long time is very, very challenging and difficult, even when you're there by your own choosing. I've also said that I think coming back from a long space mission in some ways is probably like coming back or getting out of prison, because you have been kind of isolated from society and things that this great planet we have to offer. But I have a lot of respect for Mr. Navalny and what how he stands up to the Russian government despite what they are trying to do to him, which is criminal.
Is there anything else you want to say to our viewers?
What I would like to say is that this is a really horrific thing that the Russian government is doing. It's really hard to understand as a Westerner. I have my opinion of what the reason is why President Putin feels that he needs to do this. I think it has to do with having a democratic economy that has a democratic country with a growing economy that has less people, really less resources than Russia does, and having that example so close to his borders that he thinks it's a threat to his existence as Russia's dictator. So that's why he's doing what he does. That's my personal opinion. But what I would like to say to the Russian people is that we,
we are not enemy. We are not enemy.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You are not the enemy. The smart people in Russia, even the ones that have the other opinion, many of those people have been just brainwashed. I know some of them. They're good people. They and they don't want this either. They just have been just fed lies for so long that they can't tell what the truth is. And I don't think Americans or the international community needs to take this out on Russian citizens in Russia or in the United States, for that matter. My poor niece and nephew, they're Ukrainian Americans. Their dad emigrated here when he was 10 years old, but they're Russian-speaking Ukrainians. They don't speak Ukrainian, but they consider themselves Ukrainian. So they're kind of oddly put on both sides of this issue. And my little Sasha niece, who's a kindergartner, has already faced discrimination as a result of this, which I think is just wrong. And last night I went to this restaurant in New York City called Russian Samovar. They were being, horrific threats they've been getting, which, the woman that owns the place is married to a Ukrainian, and she's a Russian Jew immigrant that left the Soviet Union because her family wanted freedom. She's, just as American as anybody, yet she faces discrimination, unfortunately. This is not the whole United States. These are exceptions, but I think people should not take the actions of one man, Vladimir Putin, out on innocent Russian citizens.